Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
New discussion on a National Highway Authority of India as a part of the case study which will focus on how in a very short period National Highway Authority of India has a contribution in India's road construction development. In our previous presentation on Enron, we have seen that how the FDI in power sector was not in the position to provide us a better result, and how the project was basically delayed and how the project was basically unfinished. But this particular presentation is giving you some idea that how a authority, National Highway Authority of India, has proved that even after different challenges which India is facing today in terms of infrastructure development, there are certain achievements. We are going to learn those achievements, and we are going to discuss certain issues which still exist, and because of that NHAI is also facing certain challenges. Let me begin with the introduction to the National Highway Authority of India. The National Highway Authority of India was constituted by an Act of Parliament which is named as the National Highway Authority of India Act 1988. It is responsible for the development, maintenance and the management of national highways, and the authority was operationalized in February 1995. One can also find out that there is a similarity in terms of operationalization of this particular act, which was 1995, and that is the period of India's post reform economic reform period. Enron was also the case of India's post economic reform initiative. But at the same time, this project, this particular example is also, this particular case study is also one of the case study which highlights the India's initiative, especially in infrastructure development in the post economic reform era. As we have discussed that this particular National Highway Authority of India is mandated to develop and maintain and manage the national highways and any other highways vested in or entrusted to it by the government. So, the country's entire highways are under the basically under the umbrella of NHAI, and a brief outline of NHAI projects may be seen in 4 different points. One is the Golden Quadrangle, second is the north south and east to west corridors, third is the connectivity to major ports, and the fourth is the other smaller projects. The National Highway Development Projects phase 1 was approved by the Government of India in December 2000 at an estimated cost of rupees 30,300 crore, which comprises Golden Quadrangles, which is 5,846 kilometer, north south and east west corridor 981 kilometer, port connectivity which is 356 kilometer, and others 315 kilometer. That is the that was basically the phase 1 of National Highway Development Projects, which was approved by the government in 2000. The National Highway Development Projects phase 2 was approved in December 2003 at an estimated cost of 34,339 crore, and which comprises north south and east west corridor, that was 6,161 kilometer, and other national highways of 486 kilometer length, with the total length of 6,647 kilometer. So, in phase 3 and 4 we can also see here the government approved upgradation and 4 laning of 4,815 kilometer of national highways on build operate transfer basis as one of the methodology of public private partnership, that we will also learn in the discussion on the methods of infrastructure development in detail. But national highways on build operate transfer basis, which was having an estimated cost of rupees 33,069 crore under National Highway Development Project phase 3 A. In April 2007, government approved upgradation and 4 laning of 7,294 crore at an again estimated cost of 47,556 crore under the National Highway Development Program phase 3B. So, the total approved length of NHDP phase 3 is 12,109 kilometer at an approved cost of 80,626 crore. In phase 4 of National Highway Development Program, government in February 2012 approved upgradation, strengthening of 2-lane national highways with 4 lane under NHDP phase 4 or on the method of build operate transfer, build operate and raising the toll, and build operate amenity basis. So, in NHI phase 5, 6 and 7 we are finding again that government in October 2006 approved 6 laning of 6,500 kilometer of existing 4 lane highways, and under NHDP 5 at an estimated cost of 41,210 crore rupees, 6 laning of 6,500 crore, which includes 5,700 kilometer of Golden Quadrangle and about 800 kilometer of other stretches. In National Highway Development Program phase 6, government in November 2006 approved for 1,000 kilometer of expressway at an estimated cost of rupees 16,680 crore. In National Highway Development phase 7, government in December 2007 approved implementation of NHDP phase 2, which has the construction of approximately 700 kilometer of state alone bypass, grade separators, flyovers etc., at an estimated cost of 16,680 crore. So, let me also see the achievements of the National Highway Authority of India. We have seen in different phase there are certain targets for the National Highway Authority of India. In terms of Golden Quadrangle, which was basically the early phase initiative, the total length, which was 5,846 kilometers, NHI has completed 4,846 kilometer, and there is no under implementation targets right now. In case of north south and east west kilometer length is 7,142 kilometers, out of which 6,134 kilometer has been achieved and 636 kilometer is under implementation. Port connectivity and other projects, 1,770 was the target, and the achieved target is 1,438 kilometer, 312 kilometer is under implementation. In National Highway Development Program phase 3, the total length was 12,109 kilometer. At the same time, 5,292 kilometer is completed, 5,132 is under implementation. In phase 4, 20,000 length was the target, out of which 172 kilometer is achieved, but another 3,956 is under implementation. Out of this 20,000 total length, 14,799 was with NHAI, and rest of the project is with other agencies. National Highway Development Program phase 5 had 6,500 total length, out of which 1,496 is completed and 2,584 is under implementation. In NHDP phase 6, 1,000 was the target, and we do not have statistics of completed kilometers in this particular phase, while in phase 7 we have 700 kilometer as the target, out of which only 21 was completed and 20 was under implementation. So, in phase 6 and 7 we are finding, even in phase in last 2-3 phase, we are finding that the speed of finishing the targets are less compared to the previous phase of NHAI. Here you can see in phase 4 also in phase 5 the lane completed is not as per the target set. In phase 6 also and 7 also, we are finding that the completed lane is not as per the target fixed. So, there are certain challenges which NHAI is facing today. During 2014 and 15 alone, we are finding that NHAI had implemented 186 projects, out of which out of 185 projects, only 120 projects were out of this particular 185 projects, 120 were delayed, and that shows that the completion of project is one of the bigger challenge in these days. And when we are finding what are the major causes, major issues for this delay and this particular problems, we are finding that one of the first important challenge which India is facing, especially in road construction sector, is the government's policies, cloudy policies on land acquisition. One cannot really forget to discuss here the recent controversy on the Land Acquisition Act, which is being discussed in the Parliament, and how again this Land Acquisition Act is one of the very controversial, one of the most controversial topic today in India, and where we are finding that there are two different opinions and two different group. One who supports the land acquisition at any cost, because infrastructure development is the prime concern for this country at this moment. At the same time, we are also finding that there are another group, and they really oppose this land acquisition in the name of farmers, in the name of poor people, and the land is still considered as one of the source of livelihood, and it is also true that majority of the workforce is still dependent on the farming as the livelihood in India. Around 52% population is still dependent on the farming activity. That is the source of livelihood for them. So, we cannot really India which has not really shifted the majority of the workforce from the primary sector to the industrial sector, because India has not really achieved a better infrastructure or better industrial conditions in last 40 years. India has not industrialized in a way like the smaller countries, newly industrialized countries, which we had discussed in which was discussed in last few lectures, that how some of the industrialized smaller countries are really industrialized their production, while the India, having the big population dependent only on the agriculture and allied activity, is still continuing with the majority chunk of the population dependent on one sector, and that is the primary sector. So, when we are not in the position, when we had not really moved our workforce from the agriculture sector to the industrial sector, and we do find out that there is a small fraction of the workforce which has some employment in the service sector. But as we are knowing the fact that the service sector is not a sector where everybody will get the employment, because service sector employment is dependent on certain skills, and opportunity to get the job in service sector is limited compared to the opportunity to get a job in industrial sector, because industrial sector requires more worker than the service sector. So, country like India, Brazil, Pakistan, and many other Asian economies today, they all are finding their ways to shift their workforce from agriculture to the industrial sector. Vietnam had some good result. Other East Asian countries are having some good result. In India also, we have industrialization in some states, but not in all states, and where we have industrialization, we are finding that workers' mobility from agriculture to industry is very high. But where we are not finding industrialization, in the states where we are not finding industrialization on a very speedy level, where we are there we are finding that workers are basically in the disguised unemployment condition, and wherever they are having any opportunity to move, they are really moving out from agriculture to a specific employment in some urban area, and they do not want to either leave the agriculture, they do not want to really continue with the urban employment, because even if they are migrating, the cost of living in certain urban area is very high. So, during the cultivation and during the crop cutting, they do try to come to the rural area, and when the crop and other things are over, then they again go back to the industrial or service or the town for further employment. So, the mobility is not restricted in the areas where they have their families and where they have their village. India is not in the position to really control this big population of labor, and ultimately their productivity, their contribution is subject to the consideration, because they are really in the position to produce something, but in absence of the proper growth of the manufacturing sector, the government policy is not really allowing them to continue in some other sector, because the FDI conditions are not really supportive to the new manufacturing activities. Comparatively, we are India is much better compared to the past, but at the same time the freedom of the investors are again the matter of more political debate. And when we say Land Acquisition Act is a controversial act, and where the government policy is not really government and the political parties are not really clear that what type of action India should do to attract the foreign investors and how India can achieve the new targets in infrastructure development, we do consider here that it is not basically the failure of this particular act, but it is the failure of the India's past development, which has not allowed the industrialization on a very fast speed. We were completely adopted the inward looking model, import substitution model, and for many years India continued with that model, and that has left many industrialists to find out new destinations outside India, and even the outside investors were not really interested to join Indian market. So, this has basically made India a completely non-industrializing economy compared to the economy which had very fast growth of industrialization during the same period of time when we were not having industrialization on the fastest speed. So, that is one of the challenge for the, especially for this particular sector, where we are finding that land acquisition became very controversial today, because majority of the farmers, they find their hope, their identity, their job, their employment related to the land. And how long a country will only depend on this particular primary activities. One has to really think that there should be many other parallel activities in the economy, and this cannot be possible without a fast infrastructure growth. So, there is a need especially at this juncture for a proper understanding on the land acquisition, and Land Acquisition Act should not really favor the industrialist. I am also in the opinion that, or any student of infrastructure economics will be in the opinion that Land Acquisition Act is not really the matter of favor for only and only the industrialist, but at the same time without providing them an opportunity to get certain profit, get certain return, it is also difficult to tap their investing capacity. So, India is a very at this juncture, India is one of the country where the investors are really looking for, but at the same time with the controversial act like Land Acquisition Act and the controversy surrounded with this debate, we are not in the position to convince the world community that yes, this is the destination where you can come. So, the Make in India slogan, if it is not really supported by the act, different act, or a bunch of act, then manufacturers are not really looking for how Indian labor is cheap, but they are also looking that how any project will be completed on time. And infrastructure projects, especially the road, is the lifeline. It is one of the major tool to attract other infrastructure investment and other manufacturing investment, because it reduces road and transport, reduces the cost of production that is well established by many people in the many economists in the world today. At the same time, these road and construction activities, especially express highways and highways, they also need the clearance from the Forest and Environment Department today. And getting the approval from the Forest and Environment Department is another one of the challenge for the National Highway Authority of India today. And this particular challenge with the global financial crisis, which was started in the world, this has really slowing down the investment potentials also in many developing countries. So, delay in decision making by the government at the state level or at the central government level is seen in India, and this is not only the case in India, but also in many developing country where government policies are not really clear that what will happen to this particular project. And land acquisition is controversial in all developing economies, because developing economies has not moved from the not moved their workers for finding a job outside the allied and primary sector. In absence of the industrial development, industrial growth, this is one of the major challenge where one cannot really grab the land without giving them compensation, or outside this compensation, their farmers and workers are also looking for some other opportunities, some other avenues in terms of employment. The moment government and the policy makers are in the position to convince them that this particular land acquisition act is going to give you certain return, I do not think that farmers, because majority of the farmers are the marginal farmers in India, and they are having very small size of the land holdings. So, that small size of the holdings basically makes them very uncertain about what has to be done, and how it has to be, how they will continue with how they will continue with their livelihood, and what will be their employment pattern. So, these challenges are one of the major challenges for the NHI in the current days, and because of that reason around 60% to 70% of the projects are basically delayed, and this is one of the major challenge for the road construction. One of the way out which government is thinking today is basically working on a new model of infrastructure development, especially road construction activity, and that model is the engineering, procurement and construction route for the coming 2 years rather than the build, operate, transfer model. So, in this particular model, engineering, procurement and construction model, government awards a road project to a contractor whose work finishes with constructing or upgrading a stretch, while in case of build, operate, transfer, the government awards the project in a competitive offer, and the front runner will basically build the road or maintain the road, and it earns revenues through toll from the government for up to 30 years and return it to the government. So, compared to BOT, when government is looking for this engineering, procurement and construction model, that may be also one of the way to have the fast completion of the projects, and to really attract more private partners, because in case of BOT for 30 years they are engaged, and in case of APC they are not engaged for 30 years, but they must be engaged for a very short span of time. But apart from this difference in the public private partnership model, the challenges which we have discussed, the challenges of land acquisition or the challenges of getting the approval from the forest or environment ministry, at the same time the challenges which is well connected today with the global crisis, such as the financial crisis and other crises, are going to really hamper the road construction projects in India. And this particular case study of National Highway Authority of India proves that India has achieved, NHI has achieved certain targets in last few years, but at the same time, especially in early phase, NHI has achieved much bigger targets, but in the next phase of the development we are finding that majority of the projects are delayed, and it is not delayed just because of the PPP model, but this is also delayed because of the political interference, because of the environmental issues, and because of other global issues related to the infrastructure development. I hope this presentation gives you an idea that how India has improved its road construction and upgradation and maintenance in last few years, but at the same time this presentation will also gives us some idea that how there are certain challenge on the road of road construction. Thank you.